right, so we're back and diving right back into this case, challenging Trudeau's prorogation of Parliament.
Yeah, things are moving pretty quickly here.
They really are.
And we wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on the latest.
Definitely keep everyone informed.
If you want to check it out yourself, we added a link in the description to the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms announcement.
Yep.
But the thing that's really sort of grabbed our attention is this unusual step that the federal court has taken.
Yeah.
They've requested a case conference with both the Crown representing the government and the JCCF, the group challenging the prorogation.
A case conference.
Yeah.
Okay, so before a formal motion for an expedited hearing has even been filed.
Exactly.
It seems like the court is taking this seriously right out of the gate.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
Typically a case conference is something that happens, where the judge and the lawyers get together and they're talking about the case and timelines and procedure. And it's usually prompted by a formal motion from one of the parties.
Right.
But in this instance, the court seems to be eager to get the ball rolling even before that step.
Wow.
So it really suggests that they might be recognizing the urgency and national importance of this case.
So this isn't just a routine check-in.
No.
The court is like, we need to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, they took the initiative here.
Who was present at the meeting?
Well, it was quite the gathering. You had representatives from the Crown, so that's, the government lawyers.
Right.
And of course you have the lawyers from the JCCF representing the challengers.
Okay.
And get this. The Chief Justice of the federal court was there, along with an associate judge.
Whoa, the Chief Justice themselves.
Yes.
That's not something you see every day.
No.
Especially for, like, a preliminary case conference.
Exactly.
That really underscores how much attention this case is already getting.
Absolutely. And I think it speaks volumes about the weight that the court seems to be giving to this issue.
Yeah.
So from here, there are two possible scenarios that could unfold.
Okay, lay it on me. I want to know what we're looking at here.
All right, so the first scenario is that the Crown receives instructions from the government to agree to an expedited timetable.
Got it.
If that happens, then everyone reconvenes on Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon.
And they set the schedule for the hearing.
Okay.
So, they'll be figuring out when briefs need to be filed, how long each side gets to present their arguments, all that good stuff.
So that's the fast track option.
That's the fast track.
What if the government's like, nah, we're going to pump the brakes on this a little bit?
Well, if the Crown doesn't consent to that expedited process, then the JCCF will proceed with their filed motion, formally requesting an expedited hearing.
Okay.
And in this case, the Crown would have until Thursday to respond to that motion.
So Thursday, a little bit more of a waiting game then.
A little bit, yeah.
Was there anything else that came out of this conference?
Yeah, there was one little detail that I think is worth noting.
Okay.
The lawyer for the JCCF, he felt that the Crown's request for that response time until Thursday seemed a bit lengthy for what's essentially a preliminary point.
Interesting.
He was saying, we managed to prepare all of our materials in just a couple of days.
That makes you wonder why the Crown would need, almost a full week to respond to a request to speed things up.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but it does make you think maybe the JCCF is sensing a little bit of reluctance from the government side to move quickly.
Yeah.
These little procedural details sometimes can give you a glimpse into what the strategies of the parties involved might be.
Yeah, it's almost like a little game of legal chess, isn't it?
Exactly.
Back and forth.
Each side is trying to outmaneuver the other.
And in this case, the stakes are incredibly high.
They are.
The court's decision on whether or not to expedite this hearing could have massive implications for the future of Canadian democracy.
It could indeed.
So we will have to wait and see what happens.
We will.
We will be back to update everyone as soon as we know more.
Absolutely.
But before we go, I want to shift gears for just a moment if I can.
Okay.
This whole discussion about this case has really got me thinking about the concept of time.
And how that relates to the case. I'm interested. Tell me more.
Well, it's striking how much this whole case hinges on time.
Okay.
On the surface, we're talking about, the court's timeline.
Right.
Will they expedite the hearing or not?
Yeah.
But underneath that, it seems like there's this deeper question about the role of time in a democracy.
I see what you mean.
So we'll get into that after the break.
Sounds good.
It's striking how much this whole case hinges on time. On the surface, we're talking about the court's timeline.
Right.
Will they expedite the hearing or not?
Yeah.
But underneath that, it seems like there's this deeper question about the role of time in a democracy.
I see what you mean. Democracies need to balance responsiveness with deliberation. They need to react to the concerns of the people, but they also need to be able to take the time to consider decisions carefully.
So this case, with this push and pull between urgency and a more measured approach, is actually reflecting that tension within democratic systems.
The JCCF is arguing that speed is crucial in this case to protect those very democratic principles. They're saying time is of the essence, that every day that Parliament is prorogued is a day that accountability and good governance are compromised.
Justice delayed is justice denied, basically.
Exactly. If the court waits too long, any decision they reach might be irrelevant.
Right.
But on the other side, you have the Crown's potential argument.
Yeah.
And they might say that rushing things could lead to a flawed judgment.
Okay.
Which could actually harm the rule of law in the long run.
So how do we weigh those two things?
Yeah, it's a tricky balancing act.
The urgency of protecting democratic principles against the need for a thorough legal process.
It's a question that courts all over the world grapple with. There's no easy answer.
It really shows the complexity of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
This isn't just about whether Trudeau's prorogation was right or wrong.
Right.
It's about navigating these really fundamental tensions within democratic systems.
And recognizing that there are often valid arguments to be made on both sides of these really complex issues.
What strikes me is that this case is more than just a legal battle. It's reminding us that democratic principles are always evolving.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Democracies aren't static. They require constant vigilance, reassessment.
Yeah.
And this case is pushing us to confront those big questions.
Absolutely.
To think critically about how our government works and how to ensure that it remains resilient.
It's like we're all getting a crash course in civics, whether we realize it or not.
And that's why it's so crucial to have these discussions.
Yeah.
To engage with these different perspectives.
That's
to stay informed.
Couldn't agree more. We will be keeping a close eye on this case and bringing you further updates as things unfold. In the meantime, we would love to hear your thoughts on this case and what it means for Canadian democracy. Leave us a comment and let's keep the conversation going.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about the court timeline. Will they expedite the hearing or not?
Right.
But there's this bigger question
about
time in a democracy.
Democracies need to balance responsiveness with deliberation. They need to react to the concerns of the people.
Right.
But they also need to be able to take the time to consider decisions carefully.
So this case, it really reflects that tension, doesn't it?
It does.
This push and pull.
The JCCF is arguing that speed is crucial.
Right.
To protect those democratic principles. They're saying time is of the essence.
Right.
Every day that Parliament is prorogued is a day that accountability and good governance are compromised.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah, exactly. If the court waits too long, any decision they reach might be irrelevant.
Right.
But then on the other side, you have the Crown's potential argument.
Right.
They might say that rushing things could lead to a flawed judgment.
Right, which could actually harm things in the long run.
Exactly.
So it's a tricky balancing act.
It is.
How do you weigh the urgency of protecting democratic principles against the need for a thorough legal process?
It's a question that courts all over the world grapple with.
Yeah, and there's no easy answer, is there?
There really isn't.
This isn't just about whether or not Trudeau was right or wrong.
It's better than that.
It's about these fundamental tensions within democracies.
Absolutely. And, it's recognizing that there are valid arguments on both sides of these complex issues.
What strikes me is this is more than just a legal battle. It's reminding us that democratic principles are always evolving.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Democracies aren't static. They require constant vigilance, reassessment. This case is pushing us to confront some big questions.
Yeah.
How does our government work?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that it remains resilient?
We're all getting a crash course in civics, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these discussions.
Right.
To engage with these different perspectives.
Yeah.
To stay informed.
Couldn't agree more. We are going to be keeping a close eye on this case as it unfolds.
Yes.
And we will be back to give you updates as soon as we have more information.
Absolutely.
But until then, we would love to hear what you think about all of this.
Yeah.
What does this case mean for Canadian democracy?
It's a big one.
Let us know in the comments and we can keep this conversation going.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.